Hello, welcome to Current News. I'm your host, Chris Davis. Okay, so today what we're going to talk about is Luke Cage Season 2. This is a review. So if you haven't seen it, this is a spoiler warning. It has been out for a while now, so if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want to hear any spoilers, go ahead and please click off this video. But if you don't care for spoilers or if you've already seen it, please keep watching. And if you're clicking off this video because you haven't seen it yet, please come back. With that being said, let's get in the review now. So Luke Cage Season 2. I think the most impressive thing about Luke Cage Season 2 isn't necessarily the action. The action is really good and I love action, but to me, this season was all about relationships. How it affected the characters as they did their jobs and how they went on with their daily lives. So some examples: Luke Cage and his father, Bushmaster and Mariah, Shades and Meacham, Mariah and her daughter Tilda. Just how those relationships affected each of the characters. What was very interesting was Luke Cage's relationship with his father. He didn't like his father because when he was framed and sent to Seagate, his father didn't give him the benefit of the doubt that he was innocent. And when Luke Cage when his father just like disowned him, he felt betrayed and hurt by his father because his father didn't trust him enough that he did the right thing and that he was framed. So he always resented his father, and how the last time his mother saw Luke Cage was when he was going to prison. So that rift causes that relationship causes Luke Cage to be angry, and Claire tells him that he needs to resolve his relationship with his father in order to find closure, but Luke Cage doesn't want to talk to him. His anger gets the better of him, and he breaks a hole in Claire's wall, and then Claire leaves, and some other people are telling him that his anger is getting the better of him, and then eventually he talks to his father and he starts getting better. Mariah Stokes, or Mariah Dillard, her relationship with her daughter. So, long story short, Mariah disowns her daughter, doesn't have anything to do with her, but she comes back in her daughter's life because she has an ulterior motive to use her daughter to influence public perception that she's a good person and to push her family first initiative so she can leave her life of crime behind and so she doesn't have to worry about being a gangster anymore. Tilda doesn't want to talk to Mariah because she hasn't been there in her life and she's wondering, why are you coming now? Bushmaster and Mariah. Bushmaster is the new antagonist in the Luke Cage series. He comes to Harlem to take away Harlem Paradise and the power in Harlem away from Mariah Stokes because her relatives or Mariah's forefathers had cheated Bushmaster's forefathers, and Bushmaster has come to Harlem to take back what he believes is rightfully his. Luke Cage isn't going to take on another crime boss, so he fights Bushmaster. He loses a couple of times, but then he eventually wins a couple of times too. I was really fascinated by Bushmaster's fighting style. I think it's the martial art he was using was called capoeira. So that's a Brazilian martial art. It's a martial art mixed with dance. So that's what he was using. So I thought his fighting style was very interesting, especially how it matched up against Luke Cage. Luke Cage is bulletproof. He's pretty much indestructible. But Bushmaster was able to take him on not just because of him like knowing martial arts, but he had a drug called Nightshade, which made him nearly invincible, bulletproof-ish, and so that's how he was able to take on Luke Cage. But eventually, Luke Cage was able to take him down. Shades' relationship with Meachum. So Meachum, he was selling out Mariah and Shades to the police. Shades couldn't see it because Meachum was a childhood friend that he cared for, and he couldn't see the snitch in him. But he eventually figures out that he was snitching to the head of the police. Meachum kills the head of the police, tried to fool Shades, but Shades doesn't buy it, and he kills Meachum. I spoke earlier about how important relationships were in this season. Some relationships were broken. Mariah and her daughter Tilda's relationship, it was shattered. Mariah had done too much wrong for Tilda, and Tilda didn't want to have anything to do with Mariah, so Tilda killed Mariah with a kiss. Speaking of Mariah, her relationship with Shades is done. She went too far, and she destroyed her relationship with Shades too. And so eventually, the people who leave Mariah eventually are her downfall, and they're able to imprison her. When Mariah, alright, this is a big spoiler. Alright, she dies. In her will, she gives Luke Cage Harlem Paradise, and he accepts it. His thoughts are that with it, he can use it for good to protect Harlem, but Mariah's plan is for the power to corrupt Luke Cage. And towards the end of the season, we could see a rift between Misty Knight and Luke Cage. They were really close to each other, but now there's starting to be a rift when Misty thinks that Luke Cage has too much power and he thinks he's above the law. And so that's what I think that was most impressive about this season, the relationships. And personally, I don't want to see Luke Cage become corrupt, become evil. I still want him to be the good guy who fights for the little guy who can't fight against the big gangsters and mob bosses. I don't want to see him become corrupt. But there were some moral flaws starting to develop in Luke Cage as the season goes on. His anger with his father, the fame going to his head, it's what caused him to lose the Bushmaster. In the first place, he thought he was invincible, but then someone knocked him out. And now we see this power that he's gotten from Mariah Stokes or Mariah Dillard. Is people think that it's like corrupting him, and personally, I hope not. I hope like he's still the good guy, but I think that's where the writers are going with him, with the power going to his head and corrupting him, and him becoming the very thing that he was trying to defend Harlem against. So it's a really good season. You guys have to see it. Action's good. But I think what really made this season really stand out were the relationships and how it affected all the characters. And spoiler alert, Iron Fist even shows up for a couple episodes, so you gotta watch it. So if you liked this video, please hit the like button, hit subscribe. Also share this video with your friends. Go to the description box and follow me on social media. I have the links there. And all of you, have a great day.